Fellas, what's going on? What's going on, boys? Welcome back to the stream. Sorry I'm a little bit late here. But welcome back to our daily stream, or daily during the week, I should say, stream where we stream every single day, every single weekday at, oh, come on. We stream every single weekday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. A couple minutes late today, but just bear with me for a second, fellas. Let me just get everything up and ready. Just make sure everything's working properly. I hope things aren't laggy in the stream. I kind of made a couple of changes here, but I hope things aren't. All right. Hopefully everything's good. If it sucks, I'll make changes if it's laggy. So do you watch WWE? I don't. But anyways, without further ado, let's get into the stream. So welcome back, everybody, to our little weekly live stream that we have, or daily live streams during the week. Ever since our last talk, we didn't have too much news that came out or anything like that. What's going on, bro? Is your name Brad? No, it's not. Do you bet on UFC? I do actually. I do. But yeah, so we didn't have too much news since we talked yesterday. Where are you from? I'm from New York. We didn't have too much news since we talked yesterday, but there was, one thing, I guess I might as well just show you guys. So the one thing was this. We have Zachary Ruiz and Cedric Dumas. Definitely an interesting fight, to say the least. Not too exciting, but this is kind of the extent of the news we have. And outside of that, obviously, it's fight week for UFC Abu Dhabi. There's a lot of really good fights and really fun. It's a really fun card overall. I'm definitely really excited about the main event, RDR versus Robert Whittaker. I had a in-depth breakdown that just came out today. If you haven't seen that, be sure to check that one out. But yeah, overall, the card is definitely very good. I'll go through some of the bets I like for this upcoming weekend, just to reiterate for anybody that didn't see it prior. And it is getting a little bit later on in the week, so maybe some props are out. So let's take a look. MB, what's going on, bro? Yuri versus Roundtree will be fight of the year. Yeah, I could certainly see that. So yeah, just to reiterate on bets. So bets that I like for this weekend are, I like Bryce Mitchell. His number's actually going up, so maybe you would want to take this early if you do like the value on Bryce. Yuri third round KO. I could see that. I wouldn't even be surprised if it was earlier than that. I really go back and forth on who I think is going to win this upcoming weekend, or not this upcoming weekend, but in that fight between Yuri and Roundtree. But yeah, I probably lean Yuri. I probably do lean Yuri. So yeah, so Bryce Mitchell's the first one that I like. Outside of that, I also like the value on Ochoa. I like the value on Marc-Andre Barrios. He's probably going to lose, but the value is not bad. And there's a pathway to victory for him if he can cut off the cage, land big shots. Char kind of sucks, but so does Marc-Andre Barrios. So this is a shot in the dark. And the last play I like is Renner de Ritter. I kind of like the value there as well. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Outside of that, I don't really have much else. Let's see. Our props out? Oh, they are actually. So de Ritter by submission. What is that? De Ritter by submissions plus 320. Not amazing. Yeah, I'll do some more research on other plays, but those are the plays I like thus far for this upcoming weekend. But the other thing I wanted to do was a tier list. So we did this the other day. It was fun. And we had a bunch of guys give suggestions on different tier lists on what we can do. MB says Bryce is looking great at bantamweight physically. Yeah, he is. I actually think the move down to bantamweight is a good one for Bryce. Because I thought at 145, I just thought the physicality wasn't the same for him against other guys. He usually was at a physicality disadvantage, or I don't know if I want to say usually, but in a lot of his fights he was. So I thought moving back down, or not back down, but moving down a weight class, maybe getting in better shape, physically would be a net benefit for Bryce. We'll see how it works out. Obviously, sometimes when guys move down, they the speed is just too much for them at that lower weight class, and maybe the weight cut is too much. So we'll see how Bryce looks out there. But in my opinion, I think the move down to 135 is probably a good one. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens for Bryce. But anyway, so today we have a tier list, and this is going to be worst chins tier list. I'm sure I'm missing some guys on this list, and if I am, be sure to let me know in chat. But without further ado, here we go. So the first guy we have is Beneil Dariush. So Beneil Dariush's chin is certainly not good. I would probably put him in B tier for worst chin, higher being the worst chin, obviously, just because usually when he gets caught or usually when he takes a big shot, he goes out. We saw that against Arman Tsarukyan. We saw that against Charles Oliveira. But there has been a couple situations where he's taken some big shots and he's been able to survive. So overall, I would say Beneil's chin is definitely not good. I talked about this in a lot of my videos, but I think skill-wise, Beneil is there with some of the top fighters, actually. The problem with Beneil is just a little bit too slow, and his chin is just not really there. So, I definitely don't think he has an amazing chin. But yeah, by the way, I just want to say, is my stream lagging? I kind of added a new aspect to my stream that you guys will see if something happens. but if it's too laggy, I could just take it off. Triggers weight cuts. Yeah, that's true too. That's true too. Weight cuts could certainly influence chins, and yeah, you might have a point with Beneil. Let me erase this. Man, I don't know what's going on. My side has been hurting me, bro. But anyways, so the next guy is Robert Whitaker. So obviously, in terms of skill, Robert Whitaker is an amazing fighter. Of course, he's one of the best fighters ever at 185. But his chin has never been good. And obviously, as his career has been progressing, as he's been getting older, it's not like his chin's going to get better. It's only going to get worse. So for Robert Whitaker, I'd probably put him. I'll probably put him in B tier ahead of Dariush. Oh yeah, perfect. MB says Whitaker B. The reason why I have Whitaker in B tier is because he did take that spinning wheel kick from Paulo Costa, and he got hurt significantly, yes, but he was able to survive. So he has shown certain moments of him being able to eat shots, and he didn't go completely out or anything like that. So in my opinion, Robert Whitaker's probably B tier. Next we have Derek Brunson. He's definitely A tier for me, Derek Brunson. He's honestly a decent fighter in his prime. Good wrestling, very aggressive. On the feet, it was a lot of chaos, but it was effective for him. But there's been so many times, especially within his last 3 or 4 fights, where Derek Brunson would get caught. He would get hurt pretty badly, and either he'll just get knocked out right away, or we saw this a couple times when he fought Jared Cannonier, I believe. He got caught in the first round or maybe in the beginning of the second round, and he was hurt for like the entire round. He was hurt for like a really long time. He never recovered. So Derek Brunson's chin is notoriously very bad. Yeah, I personally think he's an A tier. Next, we have Cody Garbrandt. This is honestly an interesting one. His chin's obviously bad, but this is an interesting one because Cody Garbrandt, unlike other guys with bad chins, would specifically put himself or throw himself into the fire. He would get into a firefight against Pedro Munoz, for example, who has good power and has a great chin. Probably not the best decision to throw down with Pedro Munoz, but he decided to anyway. So a situation like that is kind of a lack of IQ. But regardless of that, Cody Garbrandt's chin obviously isn't good. So I'd probably put him in A tier behind Derek Brunson, personally. Not a great chin for Cody Garbrandt. Next, we have Greg Hardy. This is an interesting one. I mean, obviously, he's not in the UFC anymore, and he wasn't even a good fighter at all. And he is fighting at heavyweight. They do hit a lot harder, but there's been a bunch of times where Greg has been knocked out, even after the UFC. And I believe he boxed a couple times, and he got knocked out cold. His chin is just not good. So I'd probably put him in B tier, maybe ahead of Dariush, but behind Whitaker. Well, maybe he's ahead of Whitaker. I don't know. The only reason why I don't put him higher on the list is because he is fighting at heavyweight, and they do hit a lot harder at that weight class. He used an inhaler. Yeah, he did. He did. Greg Hardy's the legend. He just randomly used an inhaler, and he's like, what did he say? It was USADA approved. But yeah, so I'll probably have him here. Next is Phil Hawes. In my opinion, Phil Hawes is one of the bigger what ifs in UFC. Skill wise, I think this guy is really really good. His striking is really good. He's even a pretty good wrestler. His cardio's not bad. The problem with Phil Hawes is his chin was literally like atrociously bad. In my opinion, I actually think he might go in S tier for me. I know Phil Hawes is not the biggest name, and when you talk about worst chins, Phil Hawes is probably not the first guy that comes to your mind, but his chin was notoriously bad. He would be winning most of the fights he's in, get caught with one shot, and he would go out cold like badly as well. Phil Hawes has a ridiculously bad chin. It is unfortunate because, as I said, he's actually a really good fighter, and I think he could have been, a real legitimate contender if his chin wasn't as bad as it was, but it was really bad. He took a lot of damage over the years, and it just is what it is, I guess. Next, we have Michael Chandler. This is Michael Chandler, in my opinion. He's probably B tier behind all of these guys, just because. Yes, he's been knocked out by Gaethje, or well, he wasn't knocked out by Gaethje, but he was hurt by Gaethje with that uppercut. In Bellator, yes, he was finished a couple times. In the UFC, he was finished by Dustin Poirier by submission, but you know, and I guess he was finished by Paddy Pimblett by TKO. But for the most part, yes, Chandler does get dropped a lot and he does get hurt a lot, but he kind of puts himself in situations to get hit. And as I said, he wasn't really finished in the UFC via TKO outside of Paddy, which was kind of a different circumstance. Actually, no, yes, he was. He was finished by Charles. But still, I don't think his chin's that bad. I think his when people say Chandler has such a bad chin, I think it's kind of overblown a little bit. I don't think it's that bad. Even Gaethje couldn't KO him. Yeah. So he kind of stood toe for toe against a lot of guys that have good power and great boxing, as I said, in Gaethje and Poirier, and neither one of those guys were able to knock him out. They were able to hurt him pretty bad by landing clean shots, but they weren't able to finish him. Next, we have Luke Rockhold. He's probably an A tier, actually S tier, probably, right? Luke Rockhold's got to be an S tier. Also, obviously a champion, definitely good skill-wise, good fighter, but his chin was pretty bad. He's taken a lot of TKOs and unfortunately some KOs as well over the years, and at this point, Luke Rockhold is actually fighting Darren Till in Misfits Boxing, so we'll see how that one goes. It's kind of a weird one, but not Darren Till. His chin has never been that good, and especially as his career has progressed, his chin has only got worse for Luke. Then we have Matt Schnell. This is also another interesting one because I've seen a sequence, probably the worst chin sequence that I've ever seen was from Matt Schnell, where he was on his back and his opponent was landing like very light. It seemed to be very light ground and pound shots, and Matt completely went out cold, which is pretty ridiculous. And even if you look back to his Sumidarji fight, yes, he survived, but he was taking shots and he was getting hurt like really badly. And obviously he was one punch KO'd by Steve Erceg, who hits like decently hard. But to get KO'd like that, you probably have a pretty bad chin. So in my opinion, Matt Schnell has a pretty bad chin. So I'd probably put Matt Schnell in A tier, personally, behind Cody and behind Derek Brunson. He's shown a couple fights, as I said, like the Sumidarji fight where he took a lot of damage. He was able to survive. And then in other fights, he just completely went out cold. So definitely not a good chin for Matt Schnell. I mean A. Yeah. Schnell D tier. I mean A. Yeah. I agree. I agree with that one. Next we have Dominic Reyes. Also another guy, honestly a pretty good fighter, but his chin just wasn't there. So for him, I would say maybe like B tier or maybe A tier. Maybe A tier here or B tier ahead of all these guys. I don't know. Well, his chin definitely wasn't good. MB says A. I'll do A. Yeah, we'll throw him in A tier. He's definitely taken his fair share of knockouts and especially some KOs as well. Yeah, but he's on a win streak at this point. We'll see what he's able to do going forward. Yeah, and then the last one we have on this list is Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker's obviously S tier. The question, he got KO'd twice in a row. Yeah. That spinning elbow by Yuri was really bad, and then an MSG I believe at MSG was the fight after, where he got KO'd by a jab, by what's his face, the guy who just moved up to heavyweight, whatever his name is. I just got a win actually this last weekend, but actually, let's see, I'll tell you who it is. I believe it was on this card, like prelims or something. No, it was on 318. Was it not? Oh, Ryan Spann. That's who it was. Ryan Spann. So yeah, he got knocked out by Ryan Spann by a jab. Wasn't a great look. Ryan Spann does hit hard, but still, he got knocked out cold by a jab. So Dominic's chin is definitely not that great. But anyways, so the last guy we have on the list is Johnny Walker. As I said, obviously S tier. Maybe he has the worst chin, but in my opinion, Phil Hawes's chin is also really bad. But the thing about Phil Hawes, though, is the thing about Johnny Walker, though, is he's just like not defensively sound at all. He takes a lot of big shots, and yes, his chin's terrible, but it's definitely not aided by his lack of defense. But for Phil Hawes, it's not like, I mean, he's not like unhittable. Obviously, he's taken a bunch of KOs throughout his career. But for Phil Hawes, I feel like he's actually a good fighter, and he's able to see, avoid some big shots, and he still has been KO'd as many times as he has been. So honestly, I think Phil Hawes for me has the worst chin on this list. But Johnny Walker is a close second. His chin is really bad as well. But yeah, I mean, this is who we have for our worst chins tier list. There's probably some guys that I'm missing, but for the most part, I think this is solid. Maybe I put some guys in the wrong spots or whatever, but for the most part, as I said, I think this is probably a pretty solid list. But yeah, I do see a lot of lag. I'm actually going to close out this tier list because I am seeing a lot of lag. Just X out all these and go back to the full screen. Yeah, I apologize. As I said, I'm trying something new out for my streams. And if it's too laggy, I just won't do it. But I did want to try something new out. But anyways, besides that, so yeah, that's our tier list. We'll have another tier list coming for tomorrow as well. We'll do a tier list most streams. We'll have different topics and everything. But today's topic was worst chins. But yeah, so obviously, as I said, it is fight week. This upcoming card is definitely a good one. It's definitely an exciting one. We'll see what happens in the RDR and Whitaker fight. As I said, it should be a good one. Whitaker probably stylistically is a tough matchup for RDR, and skill-wise, he probably is more skilled than RDR is, or definitely is more skilled than RDR is. On the feet, especially, if he can get the fight on the feet, I think Whitaker could land a bunch of shots. I think the 1-2 high kick could be something that proves to be effective for him. It's just the thing is, with RDR, I do think there's a lot of similarities to him and Dricus. And Dricus was able to, take down Whitaker, who's notoriously hard to take down. But DDP was able to take him down. So if he was able to, in some sort of a weird sequence, I kind of see a similar thing happening, or potentially happening, where RDR finds himself in a weird sequence and he's able to find a takedown against Whitaker. But we'll see what happens. If RDR can't take down Whitaker, it could be a tough fight for him. But we'll see. We'll see what happens between those two guys. So that's a good one. Peter Yan, Marcus McGee, obviously another good one that's really exciting. Shara and Marc-Andre Barrio, that's a fun one, of course. Ochoa and Almabayev is good. Guskov, Krylov is good. Bryce Mitchell, Nurmagomedov. We were kind of talking about Bryce before, but yes, he is in really good shape for bantamweight. I do think the physicality for him at bantamweight is going to be significantly better than it was at 145. This is probably like a bad example for Bryce because, both of these guys are probably the best fighters at 145. But when Bryce went up against both Topuria and even Gene Silva, I thought the level of physicality was just like ridiculous, or the difference between Bryce and those two guys were just ridiculous. As I said, Gene and Ilya are some of the most technical, or not technical, but technical, but some of the most physical guys at 145. So maybe it's not the best example, but I guess my point that I'm trying to make is when Bryce went up against those guys, it almost felt like they weren't in the same weight class. It's just for Gene, he was able to stop every takedown, land big shots. Whatever shots Bryce was landing back on Gene had no effect at all. And yes, Bryce was able to take down Topuria, but I also at the same time think that was a little bit overblown. Yeah, he was able to take him down, but Topuria was able to dominate him for the most part, get right back up after getting taken down, and go forward from there. So I do, as I said, I think the physicality for Bryce will be much better at 135 than 145, but there's always going to be those questions when a guy moves down. How's his cardio going to be? How is he going to be fast enough for that lower weight class? So we'll see. And he is going up against a pretty fast and explosive guy in Magomed, but we'll see what happens. I do think Bryce is going to win the fight. Then we have Muslim Sadikov versus Carlos Leal. That should be a fun one. Black Shear and Davy Grant. Once again, probably a fun one. Hebos and Tabitha Ricci. It's fine. It's honestly probably pretty good for a women's fight. Ibo Islam and Billy Alcantara. It's probably going to be an easy KO for Billy. For Ibo, I should say. And Muhammad Yahya kind of stinks, so he'll probably lose again. And then Budai and Buchetta, Marcus. We'll see how Marcus is able to do. First fight coming over from ONE FC in the heavyweight division, and I know I say this a lot probably, but whatever new prospects we can get at the heavyweight division in the UFC is definitely welcomed. The UFC's heavyweight division has been pretty bad, and yes, we did just get our fight announcement of Tom Aspinall versus Ciryl Gane, which we kind of knew this fight was going to happen for a while, but I don't think it's a fight that's that competitive in my opinion. I think Tom is just going to take Gane down and submit him. Maybe if it's in the first round or it's in the second round, whatever. But eventually, I think he'll find a takedown and submit Gane. And outside of Gane, I don't think there's too many other contenders that I think have a legitimate chance versus Tom. Even a guy like Almeida, which could be the next guy for Tom Aspinall, a guy who Tom hasn't fought yet. But even for Almeida, on the feet, if Tom could just stop takedowns, which I think he will be able to, on the feet, he has such a big advantage. He can land big shots on Almeida, and he'll probably knock him out. So, outside of Ciryl and outside of Almeida, there's really nobody else. Even those guys, as I said, I think Tom beats them. But especially outside of those guys, there's really nobody that I can see in the division, ranked or unranked, that would give any sort of real test to Tom Aspinall. So that's kind of why I said that I think Tom may get like a ridiculous amount of title defenses, like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Like, I know it sounds ridiculous, but at this point, I just don't really see anybody beating Tom. Yes, it is heavyweight, and yes, somebody can land some sort of a big shot. That's actually part of the reason why I think Derek Lewis might have the best chance out of everybody. Because yes, Derek Lewis is most likely going to get dominated, but there is always a possibility that he could be losing 4.5 rounds or the majority of the fight, and all of a sudden he lands one big right hand or one big left hook, and if he lands clean on you, he'll knock out anybody, even Tom Aspinall. So that's kind of why I think he has, ironically, the best chance, but obviously he's definitely not, in terms of skill level, he's nowhere even close to Tom Aspinall. So if that's your best chance, probably Tom is going to be a champ for a while and get a bunch of title defenses. So we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening at the heavyweight division. As I said, I really want them to sign Francis, but I'm assuming Dana's not going to want that and is going to vote against that, let's just say. So yeah. That's kind of unfortunate. That's kind of the situation at the heavyweight division. That's what we got. What do you think about Merab and Sandhagen? I personally don't think it's going to be a close fight, in my opinion. I know this might not be a popular take or whatever, but I thought for Sean O'Malley, I thought Merab would beat Sean the first time and the second. Or sorry, actually the first time I thought Sean would win, but the second time I thought Merab would win. But the only reason I gave a chance to Sean is, listen, he's not going to be able to stop the takedowns. He's probably not going to deal with the pressure that well. But the thing about Sean is, if Merab gets a little bit too reckless and too wild, he does have that one-punch KO power. He has shown it in the past against Aljamain and against some other fighters as well. So I thought Sean, although I didn't think he would win the second fight, I thought he at the very least had a chance to maybe land some sort of a big shot. But when you look at Corey Sandhagen, he's more well-rounded than Sean is, 100%. But he doesn't really have power. He kind of hits like a grandma, to be honest. Like, he really doesn't have any power at all. And if you have to put punches and combinations to land any sort of damage or any sort of power on your opponent, Murad's really not going to let you do that. I think we saw that when he fought Peter Yan. Yan has good power or solid power, but usually how he does his damage is he puts punches in combination, and that's really how he starts to land damage on his opponents and find finishes. But we saw in that fight that Merab just shot a million takedowns and didn't allow Peter Yan to really get going and land any sort of punches in combination. So I think we could see a similar thing in this fight versus Corey Sandhagen. Yes, there is a possibility that Corey lands some sort of a flying knee or a head kick or something like that. But in my opinion, I just think how the fight's going to look is Merab's going to be pressuring Corey. Corey may land a couple shots in the feet, but he doesn't hit all that hard. Merab will push through it. He'll find takedowns. And Sandhagen will get back up, get taken down, get back up, get taken down again. And even though Corey doesn't have cardio issues, when you go up against Merab, usually you do have cardio issues, even if you don't previous to that. So I think Merab's going to essentially dominate this fight. But we'll see what happens. I could be wrong. The betting lines have pretty big advantage to Merab. I believe he's a minus 300 something. But yeah. But Merab will win. Merab would win. I agree. Merab will win. I think so as well. But yeah, I know also some people were talking about Corey potentially submitting Merab with a leg lock or something off his back or whatever. I just think it's so unlikely that that Corey will submit Merab in any sort of way. He doesn't really submit anybody. I don't know the last time he submitted a guy in the UFC. And also when you're talking about a guy like Merab, who's known for his grappling, yes, it's mostly wrestling, but still he knows how to stay out of submissions. He's been training for Aljamain, or he's been training with Aljamain Sterling forever. And Aljamain's a guy who has tremendous submission ability. I'm sure he's been drilling that in their training camps and just throughout the years. So I think it's highly unlikely that Corey will find a submission on Merab, but we'll see what happens. The only way I could see it possibly, and even then I don't think it's super likely, is if Corey hurts Merab, drops him, and like hurts him badly, and then jumps on his neck and goes for a submission or something like that. But even then, I don't think it's super likely, because if Corey hurts Merab, he'll probably just try to finish him with strikes. But we'll see. I just don't think it's super likely that Corey wins this fight. But yeah, we will see. So yeah, but I think that card overall is a really good one. Obviously, the main event for that card is going to be Alex Pereira and Ankalaev, so that'll be fun as well. We'll see if Pereira can make any sort of adjustments in this fight this time around to get the victory. But we'll see. Sandhagen struggled against Umar with his wrestling. Yeah, he did. I know a lot of people gave Corey credit against Umar because he did stop a lot of takedowns and he got right back up after getting taken down a couple times, which is true, and obviously that is a good thing. But I almost think that Merab wants that. When Merab takes a guy down, I almost think he wants them to get back up, because when they're trying to get back up, they're utilizing a lot of energy, and usually the Weasel pointed this out. I think it's accurate. Usually, once you get to the third round against Merab, and if you're still there, you're getting really tired at that point. So if Merab's consistently, shooting for takedowns, taking you down, you're getting back up, he takes you down again, getting back up. That's what Merab wants. He's winning the fight in those situations, for one, and for two, he's tiring you out. So as the fight does go longer, it's going to be harder to get back up. It's going to be harder to have more success or to implement your own game plan. So I definitely do think the fact that that Sandhagen was able to get back up against Umar is a positive thing, I guess, in that fight versus Umar. But in general, or not in general, but against Merab, I actually think that could be a negative thing, just because he's going to gas out. But yeah. John, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. What's your pick for Gon Aspinall? Definitely Aspinall. Very confident in that. On the feet, I mean, Gon is a good striker. He definitely is. He's one of the more skilled strikers at the heavyweight division. But I do definitely lean pretty heavily in the favor of Aspinall. I think Aspinall is probably just going to take him down and submit him. Yes, I mean, listen, John Jones was able to take Gane down and submit him right away. And I think Aspinall could do somewhat of a similar thing. But yes, there has been some time that passed ever since that fight between Gane and John. And yes, obviously, Gane is going to be working on his takedown defense. He's going to be working on his submission defense. Uh, you know, just trying to stop takedowns and whatnot. But I just think the time that it's been ever since that John Jones fight to the time that he's going to fight Tom Aspinall, and how much better Tom Aspinall is in the grappling than Gane, it's just too big of a gap to close in that short amount of time, in my opinion. But we'll see what happens. Nothing much. How about you? I'm doing pretty well, John. I'm doing pretty well. Just hopping on this live stream, obviously. I think people underestimating Gane chance way too much. I mean, you might be right. Listen, as I said, on the feet, Gane is good. He definitely is good. He's pretty technical. He has a good jab. He can switch stances. He's very fast. Tom is also fast, but I think there's an argument to be made that Gane's even faster than Tom. So if the fight's on the feet and Gane could stop takedowns, then it does make the fight interesting. But it's just, in my opinion, I just think it's too glaring of a weakness for Gane and too big of an advantage for Tom not to go for takedowns. So I think he'll shoot for a takedown. I think he'll be successful. And if the fight does get to the ground, I think Tom could land ground and pound shots. I think he can go for submissions. I just think there's a lot of possible avenues that Tom Aspinall can go to and to try to beat Ciryl Gane. But listen, Gane is athletic. He is fast. He is a good striker. So and I guess, of course, he does have a chance in winning this fight. I just personally think that the wrestling is a huge, huge advantage for Tom Aspinall. But yeah, well, we'll see how they fill out the rest of that card as well. Obviously, we only have that one fight, Tom Aspinall versus Ciryl Gane, but I believe that's a card in Abu Dhabi, and usually they like to stack those cards. So I'm expecting a lot more good fights in that one. And we were kind of talking about this yesterday, and I think it is true that to end the year, the UFC really puts on good cards, and I think we're kind of seeing that. With 319 in August, that's going to be a great card. With 320, it appears to be a really good card as well, with Pereira Magomed, Murad Khoury, Yuri versus Roundtree. Those are the only three fights that we know of at this point, but all three of those fights are amazing. So those are going to be good. They're definitely going to be good. And then for UFC 321, we have Tom Aspinall versus Ciryl Gane, as we were talking about. But at the same time, I do think they're going to look to fill out that card pretty nicely and probably stack it to a certain extent as well. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of good ones. For the talking specifically about Magomed and Pereira, I do think Pereira is going to make some adjustments in this fight as compared to what he was able to do last time. And I think the biggest problem with Alex in his fight against Magomed the last time is he wasn't aggressive enough, or at least he wasn't on the front foot enough. When you look at Alex's fight out there and when he has the most success and look at his knockouts, when you talk about his knockout over Jamal Hill, you talk about his knockout over Khalil Roundtree, you talk about his knockout over Israel Adesanya the first time they fought, even when he was dominating Adesanya the second time before he got finished. What's the other finish I'm forgetting about? Yuri Prochazka, when he finished him both times. Whenever he's able to get these finishes, he's pressuring his opponent. But when you look at his last fight against Ankalaev, he was on the back foot essentially the whole time. And yes, Pereira is a good striker. He does have the ability to be on the back foot and have success and land a left hook or land a right straight or something like that. He is skilled enough to do so, but it becomes much more difficult. And the shots you land are probably also not going to be as powerful when you are on the back foot. So I thought the fact that Pereira was moving back as much as he was in their last fight or their first fight between those two guys was a huge reason for why Ankalaev had so much success and a huge reason for why Alex didn't really look all that great. So I think in this fight, he's going to look to pressure Ankalaev a lot more, maybe throw less leg kicks. If the leg kick is there, I'm sure he'll throw it. Obviously, it is a big advantage for him and a big weapon for him. But I think last fight he threw a little bit too many leg kicks, and it kind of got him backing up a little bit and got Ankalaev on the gas at times. And I thought, when Pereira is backed up against the cage, it's probably not going to be great for him against Ankalaev. But with all that being said, as I said, he'll be on the front foot. He'll probably be more aggressive. But with all that being said, Ankalaev is a counter striker. So if Alex gets a little bit too aggressive, maybe like what happened against Israel Adesanya the second time, there is a chance that Ankalaev could, find some sort of counter shot land a big counter shot on Alex and knock him out cold, and maybe even beat him even more dominantly the next time than he did this time. So we'll see. If I had to guess, I think I would lean for Magomed a little bit, but at the same time, I don't want to count out Alex Pereira. I do think there are a couple of adjustments you can make to potentially win this next fight versus Magomed. So that's definitely an interesting one. Let me. I'm actually going to change his title. I think his title sucks. Alex. Magomed. There we go. Bear with me for a second, fellas. I apologize. I just want to change his title. Save. I will not schedule. Fuck. Can I not change it? Yeah, maybe I can't. Whatever. Gon versus Ngannou was such a good fight. Yeah, it was. It actually was a pretty good fight. It was a very close fight between the two. Francis was hurt in that fight. I believe both knees, or maybe it was just one of his knees. It was pretty messed up, and he was still able to get takedowns and whatever. So it definitely was very close. Some people thought Gon won the fight, but I think in the end they probably got the right decision. I think Francis probably won, but it was close. It was definitely close. I said a bunch of this. I said this a bunch of times, but I do really want the UFC to bring back Francis Ngannou. I think him versus Tom Aspinall is the fight to make. In my opinion, that's probably the closest fight at heavyweight we can see for the belt. Even though Francis is older at this point, I think he has the skill to compete at the very least with Tom and maybe beat him. I think that's kind of a 50-50 fight, honestly. But maybe slight favor to Tom, but it's close. It is close. But as I said, I don't think it's very likely that we see Francis in the UFC. Dana doesn't like him, and he's pretty stubborn. So I don't think we're going to see Francis in the UFC. But one can only hope. Bless you. Thanks, man. Thank you. Let me see if I can figure this whole thing out. I'm going to change this title, bro. People are not happy with this title. It's not working out. So let me change this quickly. Live. Boom. Let's do this. There we go. Okay. That part where Ngannou caught Gon's kick, picks him up and slams him was sick. Yeah. Francis really showed. I mean, obviously, even before that, that fight versus Gon, Francis was showing a better ability to wrestle. Even in the Stipe fight, the second time, he showed a pretty good ability. But specifically in that Gon fight, like, he only wrestled. As I said, he was hurt, obviously, so that's probably a huge reason for why. But the fact that he showed an ability to only wrestle in a fight and still be dominant and still be successful was pretty crazy to see. And yeah, that one specific sequence was pretty crazy. I believe, maybe I'm not remembering it properly, but I do believe that when he caught that kick, I think it landed, but it just didn't hurt Francis that much or at all. And then he just picked up Gon and slammed him. It was pretty crazy. And the fight itself was definitely a really close fight. But yeah, what can you do? Heavyweight division is where it is at this point. We do need more action. But listen, I am kind of hoping I'm wrong at the same time. I do think Tom is going to beat Gon relatively easily, but I do hope at the same time I am wrong. I do hope that Gon could put up a fight against Tom, and I guess it is possible that he could beat him. But we'll see. That's why I'm leaning towards Gon. He's gone through 5 rounds of adversity against Gon. We haven't seen that is a good point. That is definitely something that I've heard a little bit, and I think it is reasonable. For Tom Aspinall, he's just been so dominant throughout his UFC career thus far that what's his longest fight in UFC? Like it's really not long at all. He's essentially finishing everybody in the first round or within the first 2 rounds by submission or by via KO, which on one hand shows like ridiculous domination. He's beating everybody so quickly. It's hard to compete with a guy like that. But on the other hand, if somebody is able to survive, some of the submission attempts or is able to survive on the feet versus Tom, as the fight does go longer, it does, lead to the question is like, will Tom Aspinall gas out? If you survive early against Tom, can you beat him? Similar thing with Khamzat Chimaev, actually. With Khamzat, he's been so dominant for so long. And he's just been finishing everybody early in the first round. But as we saw in the Gilbert Burns fight, if you survive early against Khamzat, he could tire out a little bit. Or actually, I think a better example would be the Kamaru Usman fight. If you're able to survive round 1 against Khamzat, as the fight does progress and go longer, you have a better and better chance. I think in round 2 and in round 3 especially, we saw Khamzat Chimaev really slow down after having a very dominant first round versus Kamaru Usman. And that's actually a big reason for why I think DDP is going to beat Khamzat. I could be completely wrong. Maybe Khamzat will just finish him in the first round. But I think, I think a guy like DDP could survive round 1 against Khamzat. And if he does, I think, Khamzat's going to start to tire out. And I think the rounds will only get easier for Dricus. So, yes, I guess I kind of went on a tangent. But overall, I do agree with that. And it is a good point. We haven't seen Tom Aspinall go all that late in fights. So if Gon's able to survive round 1, round 2, it will be interesting to see how far he can go, or how Tom Aspinall is going to look in those fights. So, yeah, I mean, listen, it's not the worst sport in the world. It is a pretty good point. So, we'll see. We'll see. I almost kind of want to see Tom get tested a little bit more, just to have those questions answered. We don't know if Tom gasses, but we also don't know what we don't know. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens in that one. But yeah. But yeah. So what else we got? What do you guys think about Roundtree versus Yuri? I think we talked about this already. Do you think Yuri's gonna win? I think so. I think Yuri's gonna win. I kind of do go back and forth about it, to be honest. Both guys are pretty good, but I would probably say, or not probably, I would definitely say Roundtree's a more technical guy out of the two, but Yuri has more power and he's more aggressive. So I think I lean towards Yuri, but it's a close fight. It's going to be a good one. It's probably going to be a 2-round fight, maybe 3-round fight at the most, and somebody's definitely getting knocked out in that one. But I guess we said a similar thing between Jamal Hill and Khalil Roundtree, and it was a dominant 5-round decision for Roundtree. But Jamal Hill is a very different fighter from Yuri Prochazka, so probably someone's going out there. Let's see. Let's see the rankings. Oh man, side's really killing me. Rankings. Let's see. I'm assuming, by the way, Pantoja and Joshua Van, this essentially is almost guaranteed to happen. I'm assuming this fight is probably going to happen either in November on the MSG card or maybe in December. I assume that's probably when it's going to happen. It's a really good fight, by the way. It's probably going to be a co-main of some sort of card, which is fine. I mean, it'll just bolster a card, but Pantoja versus Joshua Van is a really, really good fight. And if it's the main event even or the co-main event, it's an amazing fight. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that one. Joshua Van, I personally think Van is probably one of the tougher tests of Pantoja's career thus far, just because on the feet, Van is better than Pantoja. Pantoja has went up against guys that were better than him on the feet as well. But Van, I think, has a decent advantage on the feet against Pantoja. And on the ground, if Pantoja can get it there, he'll probably submit Van. But Van actually has really good takedown defense as well. So we'll see. We'll see what happens in that one. I do personally think that Van could be a tough matchup for Pantoja. Have you seen any Terminator movies? I actually have not. I actually have not. Um, I would like to see it. Um, it's kind of crazy. I haven't seen. I actually haven't seen a lot of movies. It actually sounds kind of ridiculous. Some of the movies I haven't seen. Khan versus Khan was a real life Terminator fight. Yeah, that's fair. That is fair. Um, but yeah. Watch the first two only. All right, we'll do. We'll do. The rest suck. Yeah, that's fair. I feel like a lot of times that happens, where the original and maybe the first two would be good, and then they make too many movies after that, and then they all kind of suck. but but yeah, all right, I'll watch the first two. We'll do. Just think it's so hot, bro. Ridiculous. My computer just gets so hot. Has the stream been lagging, by the way? Can't really tell. I don't think it is, but computer is pretty hot. Hope it's not lagging. Um, but yeah, I just saw today that Taporia was with the Nelk boys on a live stream or whatever it was. But I saw the sparring footage. It is kind of funny. I mean, of course, he did hold back, but him holding back is ridiculous power for most people. So I was just watching the video. It's kind of funny when Steiny took a big right hand from Taporia. um, it is pretty crazy how hard that guy hits. But yeah, I thought that was funny. By the way, at bantamweight, do you guys think anybody could beat Marab? Do you think there's anybody at that weight class you're like, all right, when this guy fights Marab, he's going to beat him? In my opinion, I don't really think so. He already beat Sean twice. He beat Umar already. He beat Peter Yan. I think he would beat Yan again. He's going to fight Corey, but I think he'll beat Corey. Song Yadong, I think he would beat. Figueiredo, he would beat. Cheeto Vera, he definitely would beat. Batista, he would probably beat him. Rob Font, he definitely beat. Cejudo, he would definitely, well, he beat Cejudo already, actually. Zahabi, he would definitely beat. Marcus McGee, he would beat. That's weird, by the way. Marcus McGee got went from number 13 in the rankings to number 12 off nothing. Nothing happened. Just Vinicius Oliveira won. Oh, well, I guess Kyler Phillips won back. But yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, in my opinion, I don't think anybody beats Marab for a while. I said this before. It sounds ridiculous, probably, but the only guy that I could potentially see beating Marab is Vinicius Oliveira. But probably by that time Marab would be old as well, and we'll see if he's still champion at that point. But Vinicius has great cardio. He hits really hard, and it's just really physical. So I know it might sound ridiculous, but I think he has a chance to beat Marab, honestly. But that's a far ways out. Vinicius is currently number 13th ranked guy, beating Kyler Phillips in his last fight. So we'll see where his career is able to go, and if he's able to continue beating guys or whatever. So we'll see. Pencil Shavings, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. Stop clicking Gone. He's trash. Yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Gone and Tom, but I do think Tom's probably going to win that fight. But yeah, so yeah, I think Marab's probably going to be there for a while. What do you guys think about JDM and Islam? It's kind of a weird fight, in my opinion. Well, kind of like a weird timeline. Like, how are we seeing JDM versus Islam Makhachev? It's a weird timeline. But what do you guys think of the fight itself? I think the fight itself is a good one. I think it's a fun one. But I don't know. It's kind of weird. I kind of think, I know a lot of people are kind of thinking that Islam is just going to run through JDM. He's going to take him down, submit him, or even have success on the feet against him. In my opinion, I don't really see the fight like that. I kind of think JDM will be able to stop a couple takedowns. Yeah, he'll probably get taken down eventually, but I think most of the takedowns or some of the takedowns JDM will be able to stop. And if he's on the feet against Islam, I do think he would have a lot of success. Cutting off the cage, being on the front foot, landing a bunch of shots similar to what he was able to do Bilal, I think he would be able to do to Islam. And yes, Islam is a better striker than Bilal is. Of course he is. But JDM is also on another level of striker than Islam. So Yeah, if the fight's on the feet, yes, Islam is defensively sound. Yes, he's a decent counter striker, but I don't think that's going to be enough to have success against JDM. And also, JDM is going to be bigger than Islam, and that's going to be something new for Islam as well. He used to fighting guys like Volk or Volk and Charles or whatever. But JDM is going to be bigger than both of those guys. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I kind of lean JDM honestly, but we'll see. I could be mad. I could be mad. I could be wrong. Got fat man to lose to Volkov. Yeah, that fight was weird. I thought Volkov definitely won the fight, but they gave it to Gon. It's kind of a weird situation though, just because um, Dana White thought that Volkov won the fight. I think a lot of fans thought Volkov won the fight, but they gave it to Gon. So you can't really give it to for the title shot I'm talking about. You can't really give Volkov a title shot off technically a loss, even if you thought he won. But so it was weird. So yeah, they just give a shot to Cyril Gane. We'll see what Gane could do. He is athletic. He's a good striker, but we'll see. I just think there's a real advantage for Tom in terms of the wrestling. I guess when I was a good fan. Oh God, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And yeah, this is so it was fine. That's fair too. That's fair too. That's better. Yeah, Volkov did get a lot better. He definitely did. His striking is better. His grappling is better as well. But similar to Volkov, similar thing to Cyril Gane. I think if Volkov ever fought Tom Aspinall, he would lose as well. He's just not fast enough on the feet. I think Tom could, land a couple big shots and knock out Volkov. And on the ground, he already fought him, and what he was able to do last time was take him down and submit him. And I kind of think Tom would be able to do that again. So yeah, listen. I guess the point is, it is exciting that Tom Aspinall is back after being out for so long, just waiting for John Jones. And obviously, it was clear that John wasn't going to fight Tom. So it's kind of just waiting for no reason. So on one hand, it is exciting to see Tom's back and he's fighting again. But on the other hand, I just feel like a lot of these contenders don't really have much of a chance, in my opinion, against Tom. Listen, I could be wrong. Maybe John's right about Cyril Gane. We'll see. And if he is right, be sure to let me know on videos or in live chat or whatever. But I just personally think he has a big advantage against everybody in the top of the rankings. Just going through it, like against Gane, as I said, I think Tom can just take him down and submit him. Against Volkov, I think he can knock him out on the feet or take him down and submit him. Against Sergey Pavlovich, he already knocked him out on the feet, but I think an easier path to victory for Tom is probably just finding a takedown and submitting him. Against Curtis Blades, he already beat him, but I think he can knock out Blades on the feet. Against Shelton Almeida, I think Tom could just knock him out on the feet. Against Cortez Acosta, I don't think Waldo's that good, so I think Tom can beat him however he wants. Tybura, same thing. Spivak, same thing. Derek Lewis, if I were Tom, I'd probably just look for a takedown and try to submit him. But just to avoid all danger from Derek Lewis. And then from Ty, you could just take him down to submit him. Gaziev, same thing. McParkin, they're not going to fight, but Tom could beat him however he wants. Budai, same thing. Taliesin Teixeira, probably same thing. And Kuniev will just knock him out in the feet. I just don't really see a guy in the rankings currently of the heavyweight division that I'm like, all right, this guy will give Tom Aspinall a real test, and there's a real path to victory for this guy. But yeah, that's just my opinion on it. But we'll see. It is heavyweight, as I said, and there's always a possibility that somebody goes up against Tom, and even if Tom's better technically, or if he has a huge advantage in a certain area, that maybe some guy can catch him, and it doesn't matter. That's kind of how Derek Lewis has made a career. Most guys that Derek Lewis goes up against are more talented than him. Even Taliesin Teixeira, I thought, was more talented than Derek Lewis is, but it doesn't matter if Derek Lewis, lands a huge shot, a big right hand or a big left hook. It doesn't really matter. And I think that's true for a lot of the heavyweight division, honestly. So yeah, Tom could be better than everybody, but if someone just, lands a big shot, I guess it doesn't really matter. Yeah, that's fair too, honestly. Pencil shavings. Yeah. But yeah. What else? And not too much news, honestly. Just fight week. Just fight week. We got some good ones this weekend. What time does this card start? I know it starts early. Prelims start at 12 Eastern time, and main card starts at 3. All right. Oh, by the way, I don't think I mentioned this, but we will be doing a watch along for this card. I believe we're going to be doing the entire card this time. Last time we did a watch along for UFC 318, but it was just the prelims, part of the prelims. But for this upcoming weekend for RDR and DeRitter, or RDR and DeRitter, RDR and Whitaker, and some other fights. Well, all the fights actually on the card. I will be doing a full watch along. So be sure to check that out, 12 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday, and we will see you there. Let's see. Worst robber in the UFC. Worst robber in the UFC, you're saying is Gone versus Volkov, or are you asking me what's the worst robbery? The worst robbery, in my opinion, is probably. I don't know if this is the worst robbery, but this was a pretty bad one. Paddy Pimblett versus Jared Gordon. I thought that was a pretty bad one, just because Paddy was kind of getting lit up every time he got inside the pocket with Jared Gordon, and Jared Gordon doesn't hit that hard, so he wasn't really able to make Paddy pay in terms of hurting him or anything like that. But I thought that was a pretty bad robbery, in my opinion. There's obviously a lot of examples of other ones. This is like a weird one. This is like a weird pull, but I remember watching this fight. Jocelyn Edwards. It's kind of a weird one, but she was in a fight versus somebody. I don't even remember who she was fighting, but she definitely won all 3 rounds. It was a very clear 30-27, and they gave it 30-27 the other way. It's one of the most ridiculous robberies I've ever seen. Honestly, it was pretty bad, but obviously it was a low-level women's fight, so it doesn't matter that much, I guess. But I just remember watching that fight and being like, "That's a weird scorecard." But yeah. But probably if I had to give an answer, it's probably Paddy Pimblett and Jared Gordon. Actually, that Jared Gordon fight for Paddy changed Paddy's perception a lot, or changed really how he fights, honestly. When you watch Paddy at that point or going up until that point, he used to get inside the pocket against all these guys, and he would just say, listen, I have a great chin and I hit hard. I'm just going to get in the pocket against you, and eventually I'm going to knock you out. And it was successful against a lot of guys, lower level UFC competition, I should say. But after that Jared Gordon fight, or in that Jared Gordon fight, I think Paddy realized, all right, listen, I can't really box, and guys that have more skill or power and good chin is not going to be enough to beat them in the pocket. So after that fight, Paddy really changed his style, and I think he changed it for the better. At this point on the feet, what Paddy does is he utilizes footwork, utilizes range, utilizes a lot of leg kicks, and essentially he knows he can't box. But he doesn't put himself in those situations. He kind of just stays on the outside. And I guess for that, I will give him some credit for that. But yeah, he definitely made a change after that Jared Gordon fight. And Paddy fans blowing his hair, saying that's there. Oh, you mean because his hair was like flying around or whatever? Yeah, nah. Listen, Jared Gordon definitely won that fight. That was a weird robbery. But yeah, I don't know. I know a lot of people like to say, this all the time that Dana paid off the judges, or it's better for the UFC if Paddy wins, so they just gave it to Paddy. Which, listen, I guess it could theoretically be possible, but I just don't personally buy into that. I kind of just think the judges were inept. That's kind of how I see it. But I guess either way, it doesn't really matter. It was a robbery either way, so that's unfortunate. But yeah. That's unfortunate. But there's definitely been a lot of examples of really bad robberies. Let's see. Worst UFC robberies. Let's see. Some people say, oh, what was that? Something just happened. Thank you. I don't know what just happened, to be honest. But what do I want to say? No, so I have alerts on for For donos, I have a funny one, but it wasn't that. Anyways, so looking at the worst robbers list, I see Sterling versus Jan too. Um, I know some people say that. I think I don't know. I kind of thought Aljamain did win the rematch versus Jan. Yeah, it was a really weird way the way he won the fight, and I guess it was a weird style. But I thought he won. It was a close fight though. I don't know if I would consider that one to be a robbery. One judge had John Jones 4-1 against Reyes. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Um, that definitely is ridiculous. Yeah, there's been some really wacky scorecards over the years. There's been robberies. Obviously, there's been a ton of robberies, but even in fights that weren't considered a robbery, like this is a really good one. Corey Sandhagen versus Chito Vera. It wasn't a robbery because Corey Sandhagen won the fight, but there was one judge that had, well, that they gave it to Chito, which is ridiculous, but what they give it like 4 rounds to 1 for Cheeto or something like ridiculous, something like you can't even imagine. I know one judge gave it to Cheeto, but I think the scorecard even was even worse. And even if you look back at Tai Tuivasa when he fought, who did he fight? He fought was it no, who did he fight? Tai Tuivasa fought somebody. He clearly lost like every round, and one judge gave him a 30-27 or a tie, which is really weird. I don't remember who it was though. Let's see Tai Tuivasa. Recent fights. Tai fought. Oh, it was Rosenstrike, I believe, in his last fight. Yeah, he got dominated by Rosenstrike, and does it say the scorecards? No, it doesn't. Yeah, so he got dominated by Rosenstrike. It was a clear 30-27, but I believe one judge gave it 30-27 to Tai, which is a really weird scorecard. But Rosenstrike won the fight, so it wasn't a robbery because he won the fight, but it was a really weird scorecard, to say the least. Oh man, but yeah, I think judging overall needs to be adjusted. You know, the thing that's so weird to me about judging is we always like almost every week we see some of these weird scorecards or maybe even a robbery where 2 or more judges give it to the wrong side. But I always thought it was so weird to me because if like me or any other of these MMA fans can say, "Oh, that's a robbery," that means like the majority of the MMA community agrees that one fighter won a specific fight. So if we're able to judge it, not being professionals or anything, just watching the sport, why can't somebody who's getting paid to judge fights, like why are they messing it up so bad? I always found that so weird. I always find that weird. I do think there has to be some sort of an adjustment to judging, maybe some sort of a penalty or something if you mess something up really bad. Like the judges who had Volkov versus Gane, there has to be some sort of a penalty because that was a pretty bad decision. JDM almost got robbed by Kevin Holland. Yeah, yeah. That was a pretty clear victory for JDM. It wasn't like that bad, or sorry, well, I should say it wasn't like it was a domination from JDM, but it was like a clear decision victory for JDM over Kevin Holland. So yeah, that would have been bad if they gave it to Holland. And what about JDM's fight when he fought blanking out names here? When JDM fought let's see. Haziev, what the hell's his name? When he fought Hafez, that's what it was. Did anybody give it to Hafez? I know a lot of people say that was a close fight. I don't actually think so. I actually don't think so, but I don't know if the scorecards were for that one, but I definitely thought JDM won that fight. So yeah. Oh, Bilal versus JDM. Did someone give it to Bilal over JDM? I don't know, but JDM definitely won that fight. But yeah, JDM's a good fighter. I think people underestimate him a lot just because. Actually, I don't really know why. Actually, I think he has a pretty fan-friendly style. But a lot of people underrate or overrate, or sorry, underrate Bilal or JDM. What the hell's going on? Can't speak right now. But yeah. Sean Strickland was almost robbed by Costa. That's a good one too. That is a good one too. That was pretty ridiculous. It was a clear. I think Sean won every round, if I remember properly. It was a very clear victory for Sean. They almost gave it to Paulo, but Paulo did just win the other day, so I'm happy for Paulo. Hopefully, he can get back on track. There's probably some guys that Paulo could beat if he's fighting well. It's just the problem with Paulo is he's just so unbelievably inconsistent, or inconsistent, yes, and also he just doesn't fight that much, and it really leads to ring rust and whatever. We just don't see him that much, which is unfortunate. But I think for Paulo, if he can, fight like the Paulo of old, just being super aggressive, staying on the front foot, landing a bunch of shots, forcing himself into boxing range, landing a lot of those body kicks that we saw him land on Kopylov, I do think Paulo Costa could have some sort of success at 185, but we'll see what happens. If Paulo, sits out again, and the next time we see him is in a year from now, I don't think things are going to go all that great for Paulo Costa, to be honest. But we'll see. We will see what happens. We definitely will see. Yeah. 2 judges had Bilal winning 2 rounds. Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy, actually. That's pretty bad. That is pretty bad. JDM was controlling the entire fight. He was stopping takedowns. He was landing big shots. And yeah, in the 5th round, he was really going to town and really landing a lot of big shots and hurt Bilal and almost finished him, actually. But even outside of that, he was definitely winning the fight. And he won a lot of rounds. So that would have been bad as well. But there's been so many examples of this. I just don't get bad judging. Maybe they just, from where they're sitting, it's harder to judge fights or whatever. But if that's the case, just give them a screen, or if they don't already, they probably do. But if they don't already, just give them a screen, or I don't know. It's just so weird to me how judges consistently get things so wrong. What's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. Welcome. But yeah, judging is a weird thing. It's a weird thing, and it seems like on every card you get at least one sort of weird result, to say the least. Definitely some weird results. So we'll see what happens for this upcoming weekend. But actually, come to think of it, at 318 there was no weird judging. So I guess that's good. But maybe every other card or whatever, we usually see something. So we'll see what happens for this upcoming weekend. Hopefully no bad decisions or anything like that. But last week I thought there was going to be a lot of finishes, but this week I think there could be a lot of decisions, honestly. I think the Shara fight, if Shara wins, it's probably going to be by decision. Well, maybe you could finish him. But let's just say that's a decision. Guskov versus Krylov fight's probably going to be a finish. Bryce Mitchell versus Nurmagomedov, I could see it either way, honestly. Blackshear versus Davy Grant, decision, probably. Sadikov versus Liel, that's probably a finish. Ebo, that's a finish. Yaya, decision. Budai, it's probably a finish. Yeah, I don't know. There'll be a couple finishes in this card. Not the most amount of finishes ever, but there'll be a couple. It's kind of just government. First, I thought it was pure delusion. Now I see what it means. What does he mean? Oh, about him wanting to fight for the belt next. Yeah, I think his rationale is he was on a win streak before he lost to Max. He fought Max for the BMF belt when he probably would have gotten a title shot if he didn't fight Max. But he decided to fight Max anyway. He lost the fight, yes, but probably in his mind he's like, oh, well, I earned the title shot regardless, so I should get the title shot, now, especially after winning again against Fiziev. But I mean, listen, if I was him, I'd probably have a similar mindset. But at the same time, It's true that if Gaethje didn't fight Max, there's probably a decent chance he would have gotten the title shot. But at the same time, he did decide to fight Max, and he lost to Max, obviously. So, you know, I don't think that just is meaningless and just goes away. So, in my opinion, how I would like to have it done, which it doesn't seem like this is going to happen at this point, but how I would like to have it done is have Patty and Gaethje fight. Whoever wins that fight fights Topuria in December. That's how I would like to do it, but I know Gaethje doesn't really have much interest in fighting Patty at this point. So we'll see what happens. If Gaethje isn't willing to fight him, then maybe Arman just gets a title shot because he does deserve it. I know Dana's not happy with Arman at this point, but if there's like no other contenders, maybe you just give it to Arman. No other obvious contenders, maybe they just give it to Arman. And if it's not for Arman, then maybe they just give it to Patty because he does have a beef with Topuria and also he is a relatively big name. So there's definitely some things that the UFC can do, I guess, at 155. No, FJ is maybe better options. I do agree. I do kind of agree. I don't think Gaethje really deserves it. Because when you really think about it, same thing happened with Porter. He lost to Gaethje. Yeah, that's fair. But I also don't think Poirier deserved the shot either against Islam. But yeah, I mean, you have a point. You do have a point. But you know, as I said, I don't think Poirier deserves a shot against Islam either. So Gaethje should. I don't know if that means Gaethje should get a title shot. I think it just means, you know, Poirier didn't deserve it and he got it. So if they did it before, maybe they can do it again. But I don't think it means he should get it. I think really Arman should get it if we're being honest. He's a number one contender and he's on. He's had the best wins. He just beat Charles Oliveira in his last fight. And yes, I know he got the title shot and then he pulled out with injury or it was a weight cut issue, whatever it was. But obviously, it wasn't a great look. But it's been some time at this point, and he was the backup fighter for the Topuria and Charles fight. So I know Dana usually likes when guys make weight and become a backup fighter. So he did that for Dana. So at this point, you know, he probably deserves it. So if they gave it to him, I wouldn't be mad at all. But if it's not him, maybe it's Patty. Patty doesn't deserve it either. Gaethje doesn't deserve it. Patty definitely doesn't deserve it. But at least he has a big name, I guess, and he has beef with Ilya. So we'll see what they do. We'll see what they do. Arman should get either from the guys because he's card. Yeah, I mean, everybody has a negative to their name. I guess Arman's negative is you know, he missed weight and effed up the whole card, if we're being honest. So that is true. For Gaethje, I don't really think he deserves it because he's on a one-fight win streak, coming off Aziz, and it was a decision victory. And for what's it called? And for Patty, his best wins against a 39 or 37-year-old, however old he is, Michael Chandler. So I don't think anyone deserves it, in my opinion. But because of that, I think it makes a lot of sense to do Gaethje versus Patty, and whoever wins that fight, you give that guy the title. Or maybe you do Patty versus Arman if Gaethje's not willing to do that. And then whoever wins that would certainly deserve a title shot. So we'll see. It doesn't get a title shot because there's no other options. Yeah, I guess that's fair. I mean, yeah, if there's no other options, usually UFC always does this. That's kind of why they gave it to Cheeto. I don't think there was many other options either when Cheeto got the title shot against Sean. I could be wrong, but I don't think there was that many options. But usually if there's not many options, they just give it to the biggest name, and Dustin obviously is the biggest name at that time, so they just gave it to Dustin. So yeah, but at this point there are options. It's kind of weird that there's options, but there's not, because like none of them deserve it, but I guess there are options. Mikey agrees with that. Let's go, Mikey. Welcome to the stream, by the way. There's no excuse for a fighter to not make weight. I agree with that. It is pretty ridiculous when fighters miss weight. I do agree with that. There's so many main events ruined. I agree with this too. I do agree with this. I mean, listen, Hamza messed up a card as well. He completely messed up the card. Yes, the card continued and he fought in the card, but it was only because Kevin Holland was willing to fight Hamzat in like 3 hours notice or whatever it was, or 1 day's notice, and meet him at a higher weight class at 180, I believe they fought, or whatever it was. So yes, I mean, guys have certainly messed up cards in the past, but I agree with you, Mikey. I personally think that Dana probably shouldn't hold a grudge against Arman. Yeah, it wasn't great. He most likely he missed weight. I don't really believe the whole injury thing. Maybe he was, but I personally think he probably just missed weight and he blamed it on an injury, or wasn't going to make weight and he blamed it on an injury. But regardless, whether or not that happened, I think he's a number one contender, and yeah, I mean, he probably could have fought somebody else in this time. It was supposed to happen. That fight was supposed to happen in January. It's July, so I guess that's also another thing that's not great for Arman's case. He had how many months to accept a fight against somebody else? He just needs one win, probably. Well, definitely, and then he'll get a title shot. So I don't know. Honestly, probably everybody's in the wrong when you talk about Dana and Arman. Fight you're most excited for? Fight I'm most excited for that's already announced is DDP versus Hamzat. That's a fight that I'm really looking forward to. It's one of those fights where I legitimately don't know who's going to win. I lean with DDP, but I don't know who's going to win that fight. There's obviously a path to victory for Hamzat, first round submission or TKO or something like that. But for Dricus, is if he's able to make it out of the first round, I think he can go very well for him. And usually these type of fights are really exciting because you have two guys that are really dominant. Hamzat has been undefeated in UFC and undefeated in general, and the same could be said with Dricus. And you have both of these guys that are also in the primes of their careers going up against each other. It's a really exciting fight. It's a really exciting fight. How great do you think Dricus will be? Answer that. That'd be crazy. If Dricus beats Hamzat, if Dricus beats Hamzat, then if Dricus beats Hamzat, nobody's beating Dricus. There's no chance. Nobody's beating that guy. I know he has the wonky style, whatever. He kind of a weird style on the striking, and even when he goes for takedowns, he falls on his face, then gets a takedown. But regardless of how everything looks, in terms of the results, Dricus is ridiculously successful. And if he could beat Hamzat, which I actually kind of lean that he will do that, nobody's going to beat this guy. I really think that. But we'll see. Everyone's favorite vendor is most weight. Yeah. A lot of guys definitely have missed weight over the years. I mean, there's been examples of guys who don't, like Connor or whatever. But listen, Khabib probably missed weight as well when he he pulled out a bunch of times for whatever injuries, or he wasn't going to make weight, whatever it was, and then the whole towel incident. So he probably missed weight as well at a certain point. And there's been a bunch of examples of guys that have missed weight. Hamzat is another one of those guys, but it kind of just seems like for the Hamzat thing, Dana, I'm sure, wasn't happy about it, but Hamzat is one of the biggest stars in the UFC, so I think Dana kind of looked the other way at the same time. But for Arman, he's a really good fighter, but he's not one of the biggest stars. So I think Dana kind of holds a grudge for that, and also, it was a big event that Arman kind of messed up. So how about Ankalaev versus GDP? That's an interesting fight. Could Ankalaev even cut down to there, or are you saying DDP moving up? I'm assuming you're saying DDP moving up, actually. DDP moving up, I probably would lead Ankalaev as well, just because a big reason for why DDP is so successful at 185 is he's kind of just bigger and stronger than everybody else, alongside with the fact that he's skilled. Obviously, the skill matters. He has a good ability to take fighters down, and on the ground, he's actually really good. I think that's an underrated aspect of his game. He has really good jiu-jitsu. And on the feet, he's powerful and has, a weird looking style, but a very effective style. But as I said, I think for Dricus, a huge reason for why he's successful at 185 is he's just bigger and stronger than everybody else. But if he moved up to the light heavyweight division, that probably wouldn't be there the same way as it is at 185. So I probably would lean Ankalaev as well, honestly. But I don't want to rule out Dricus. But that'll be an interesting one. I don't see them making Patty versus Ilya right now because Yeah, I agree with that last part. I do agree that if they do Ilya versus Patty, it would be a disservice to put that anywhere else outside of Spain or outside of the UK, or well, England, I guess, more specifically. So I do agree with that last part. But in terms of Dana doing Patty versus Ilya or not doing Patty versus Ilya, I mean, like, listen, Patty definitely doesn't deserve it, and I think Dana would prefer. I think he would prefer Patty to beat a guy like Gaethje or to beat one more guy before he gets a title shot because it would make more sense. But at the same time, listen, they have the beef. Patty is a star, and Dana and UFC has made quote unquote silly matchups in the past. So I wouldn't be totally shocked if they did that. But I do agree it's probably got to be in England or Spain. And obviously in Spain, it seems like it's taken forever for Dana to figure out how to get to Spain, how to put a card together in Spain. So we'll see. We'll see what they decide to do. Two more. It always goes back to that. Yeah, it always does. It always does. Anything Juicy's excited for or to talk about? So I've been doing a pretty decent job at getting ahead on videos, honestly. So I have a bunch of videos already planned and whatever that's coming out soon. But one fighter that I was really excited to talk about, and it'll be coming out in the near future, is Antiba Gutier. He's a guy that I'm really excited about. He's one of those fighters. I know he is young and he doesn't have much experience in the UFC, and I know a lot of guys like to say, "Oh, he hasn't beat anybody," or not just him specifically, but guys in general that are young and promising. They usually like to say, "Oh, he has no experience. He hasn't fought anybody yet. He's probably not going to be good." Or whatever. But in my opinion, I just think based on what I've seen from this guy, I think he's going to be really good. He's very athletic. He's very fast. He hits ridiculously hard. But on top of all that, he's very very technical. And I know I talk about this a lot. People who join the live stream might get annoyed about me saying this all the time, but he stayed technical in the beginning of his fight versus Valentine, and even the fight before that. But after he was able to hurt Valentine, a lot of guys just throw crazy power shots. But for Antiba, he was able to do a good job at continuously staying technical and patient, and he found a big uppercut against Valentine and found the knockout. So I personally think this guy has a really bright future. I have a video talking about it, but we'll see. We'll see how his career pans out. I agree. I agree, actually. Obviously, he's very early on into his career. We'll see what happens. I guess I could theoretically be completely wrong. But I do think this guy is like a top 5, top 3, maybe even a champion level fighter in the future. I'm not saying it's going to be next year or the year after that. How long it's going to take will depend on how good he looks in his individual fights. But if he's able to continuously get victories, continuously find finishes over a lot of the opponents he goes up against, it could happen really fast. I mean, when you talk about Alex Pereira, not saying this guy's as good as Pereira, obviously, but I'm just saying as an example, guys who beat guys, beat fighters and also finish them in impressive fashion. Usually, those are the type of fighters that get pushed significantly. Even RDR is another one of those guys. He's getting pushed pretty quickly. He's fighting Robert Whitaker. RDR is where is he in the rankings at this point? He's number 13, and he's fighting Whitaker, who's number 5. And RDR is coming off a victory over an undefeated guy in Bo Nickel in his last fight. I'm pretty sure Bo's undefeated or unranked guy, I should say, in Bo Nickel. And I'm pretty sure Bo was unranked when he fought RDR. So the push for RDR is definitely there. And there's been a bunch of examples of guys that really got pushed. Pereira is another one. I guess Pereira was kind of for a different reason. Yes, he was dominating, but also the UFC knew that Pereira was getting a little bit older, and they wanted to put together him versus Adesanya as quickly as they possibly could. So, listen, if Antiba is good, he can get pushed really quickly. We'll see. Especially moves up. I do agree as well. Yeah, I agree. I agree with all those things. I definitely do. I think he'll be good, but we'll see how it pans out and everything. But in terms of the skill and the physical traits, I think it's all there. Of course, there are questions as his career does progress. When guys are throwing shots his way, is he going to be able to continue to stay technical? I guess that's the question. The question is also how's his cardio going to look? as his career does progress and as guys aren't going away in the first round. How's his takedown defense going to look? How's his submission defense going to look? Of course, there are a lot of questions. We haven't seen much of this guy thus far, but based upon what I've seen and the physical traits, the physicality, the technical ability, the striking ability, I do believe there's a lot to like about this guy, and I do think he's going to be really good. But I definitely have been wrong in the past, so we'll see. We'll see what happens and who he fights next and how big of a jump in competition they give him next. But yeah, I think his first fight against Medea, I believe it was. Like, I don't think that guy was good at all. I didn't think he had much offense at all. He kind of just was a guy with a really good chin. So I guess the question in that fight would be, can Antiba go longer in a fight? But he ended up knocking him out anyway, relatively quickly. And then in his next fight versus Valentine, it was a step up from Antiba's previous fight. It definitely was, but not that big of a step up. I don't think Valentine's that good. I don't think Valentine's terrible, but I don't think he's that good either. So, mini jumps, I guess. But after passing both of those tests with flying colors, maybe the UFC will push him a little bit harder, and maybe he'll fight a ranked guy sooner or later. So we'll see. We will see. Let's see if you got anything on Twitter, any news or anything like that. Let's see. Oh, that's so weird, bro. That's really weird. Antibas actually has a fight announcement. That's so weird. It just got announced. Antibas fighting Ozzy Diaz at UFC 320 in October. He's gonna win. He's definitely gonna win. Probably. Yeah, he's gonna win. All right, that's interesting. That's kind of funny. We were just talking about it. That just got announced. But yeah. Changing subject. Do you have any big ambitions for your channel? I do. Yeah, I'm really just trying to. I'm just trying to like work as hard as I can on this channel. At the start of the summer, I decided like I've been doing posting videos on this channel for a while. I think it's been 2 or 3 years, but most of the time. So initially, when I started posting on this channel, it was once a week, and I was doing that for a while. Then I took a pretty long break, like a 4 or 5 month break from the channel, because I kind of just stopped YouTube and was focusing on other stuff. But ever since then, I came back and I was posting once a week. Then it became twice a week, and now it's actually going to become 3 times a week. But at this point, I kind of just decided like I have a lot of fun posting on my YouTube channel and making the videos and seeing the comments and going on live here and talking with you guys about MMA and whatever. So to me personally, this is really fun. So I'm going to push as hard as I possibly can on this channel and pump out more and more content and do more and more live streams with you guys. So any ambitions for my channel, I would like to get to 100,000 subscribers. I would like to make it in the MMA YouTuber space eventually, but I know obviously that takes a lot of time and a lot of hard work and effort, which I'm willing to do. I don't know how long it'll take for me to get a significant following or anything like that, but I'm definitely excited just to go through the process and whatever. Everything has just been really fun, honestly, and just talking to you boys about MMA topics and whatever. So it's been great, and I'm definitely excited. Just so the ambition thing is I guess just to be a successful YouTuber, and I guess I would categorize that as maybe like 100,000 subscribers or more, but not even like just the subscribers part. Just having like a community where I can hop on live and talk with you guys and have a more significant following than I do at this point. I guess we're only at like 3,000 subs, a little over, but I also appreciate the fact that I'm even at this point. I've been making channels like forever, like even when I was younger, not MMA channels, but channels in general that just never really took off. But at this point, this has been the most serious I've ever taken a channel. So it's been fun. It's been fun. Crazy work, another dub. Yeah. We talking about the Antiba fight. Yeah. They're really pushing him slowly, which I guess could be a good thing. They're just getting a bunch of wins under his belt in the UFC. Probably going to be another knockout against Ozzy Diaz. But we'll see. it is kind of a slow progression for Antiba. But if you sometimes we see this, if you progress a guy too quickly, especially a young guy, and they lose, they can lose all confidence and just go downhill from there. So maybe it's a good thing. I'm glad Ben Askren's doing better. Yeah, he's doing a lot better. I'm happy as well. I know he just got out of the hospital yesterday or the day before, something like that. But yeah, he's doing a lot better. He's looking a lot better as well. He's still skinny, obviously, and there's still recovery to go. But he is doing a lot better, and it's definitely good to see. It is definitely good to see. For his been through the runner, yeah, a great career outside the UFC super school. I agree. Yeah. Yeah, Ben Askren is a great guy. And it is kind of like crazy how everything happened. I actually don't even know exactly what happened, but from what I understand is he got pneumonia and staph infection at the same time, and it just really took a toll on him. But yeah, it was unfortunate the way it went out. Oh, guys, that's that. Yeah, that was also messed up as well. That was also messed up. But I'm happy that the MMA community, and I'm not a big fan of Jake Paul, but I believe Jake Paul did donate to Ben, and I know Dana donated to Ben Askren, and probably a lot of fighters, a lot of fans. So it was really cool to see, I guess, the MMA community coming together and supporting and helping Ben Askren survive. Honestly, like he was in a pretty bad spot, but it was cool to see. All that community, I guess, sense of community. But yeah, I am happy he's doing better though. I wonder. I wonder what his like full recovery would be. Is it just normal life, or like I personally never heard of a lung transplant, especially a double lung transplant prior to the Ben Askren thing. So I don't actually know like what a full recovery is. I'm assuming he's not going to be able to wrestle again or go all that hard. I'm just kind of curious what that means. But whatever it is, I hope he makes a full recovery, and it does seem like he's in a good spot at this point. But yeah, what else? So 320 is so I'm assuming they're going to start filling out 320 as they just announced the Antiba card or fight, I should say. 320 is the Pereira fight, I believe, right? 320 is a Pereira one, yeah. So it's in. Okay, this is in Vegas actually. Okay, actually, this makes sense. Yeah, so there's actually going to be 2 pay-per-views in October because there's no pay-per-view in September. And I think the reason why there's no pay-per-views in September is due to the Canelo fight, ironically enough, because they were going to make UFC Noche a pay-per-view in Guadalajara, but Dana White decided to promote the Canelo versus Crawford fight, which is on the same day. And if it was a pay-per-view, obviously it would have to be at night, and it would be directly competing against the Canelo versus Crawford fight. And Dana would essentially be promoting 2 fights that are competing against each other. So I think because of that, the UFC decided to make UFC Noche a fight night. And I don't know exactly what time it is. I don't know if it's been announced or anything, but I'm assuming that UFC Noche is going to be during the day, and it's not going to run at the same time as the Canelo Crawford fight is going to. Kind of interesting because because of all that, Yair Rodriguez is not getting a title shot. I don't have any proof of this, but I'm assuming Yair's not getting the title shot because of all this in a weird way. But let me actually check UFC Noche to see if the time's out, if it is. Yeah, sort of. So the prelims start at 3. It's an earlier card for sure. So the prelims start at 3. The main card starts at 7. So when Canelo walks out, it's going to be like midnight or something. So they're not going to interfere. The UFC will probably be over by like 10, something like that. So yeah. What I've noticed is yeah. That is a shame, honestly. Yeah. It's definitely true. It seemed like a good prospect fight. Oh, for UFC 320? Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so the first 3 fights on 320 are really good, obviously. and obviously they just added Antiba, which is a good prospect fight. I'm assuming it'll be on the prelims. But maybe it'll be like the featured prelim or one of the featured prelims. We'll see how they rank it on the card. I think it's fun just to see that guy fight Antiba, but we'll see. And yeah, I do agree. Like a top 5 fight or some like really fun fight or something like that on the prelim or sorry on the main card. I think will make UFC 320 one of the best cards of the year, honestly. Which isn't saying that much. I don't think there's been a lot of amazing cards so far this year, but that card is panning out to be really fun and really good. It's a shame that they don't know this. Yeah, that's true as well. That's true as well. John says that's true too. That is true too. Everybody does have their own struggles and whatever. But yeah, overall, it is a sad situation. What's going on with Ben Askren? But at the same time, I mean, he is getting better. So that's good to see. And yeah, I guess we'll see what happens and what's the next chapter. I do appreciate these little daily or every other day or whatever updates that he's been posting. It is pretty cool. Just to see how he's improving and whatnot. But yeah, as well, John. There's also people. Yeah, yeah, that's true. That is also true, Mikey. But yeah, especially yeah, it is unfortunate. Society is unfortunate. It definitely could be unfortunate. I just saw a story. I'm looking for some MMA news, and I just saw a Florida man arrested for driving drunk on the lawnmower on the highway. Very good, very Florida. Hottest WMMA girls just Duran is always the answer for most people, but I would probably say Tracy Cortez, probably. Probably. That's what I'll say. What do you think? What do you think? Um, that's probably what I would say. Sorry, boys. Sorry, boys. Tracy is how Cheetos and Tiger. Oh man. Oh man, freaking ridiculous. Take no way. Man, freaking A. There's not too many options. There's not too many options, honestly, for WMMA. Outside of those two people that we just mentioned, like who else is there? Whaley, or who's another good one? Or Kayla Harrison, or Amanda Nunes, or I don't know. There's not too many good options. But yeah, Zhang will be my wife. Yeah, if Zhang's your wife, you'll probably have really athletic babies, like really athletic. She's like actually really athletic. Even for like a man, she's really athletic. The way she's able to bounce in and out, and the way she's able to throw her shots and land big shots, she has big power as well, especially for women's MMA. So, yeah, I mean, if she's your wife, then you'll be athletic. You'll have athletic kids. Kaylin, yeah, you would feel pretty safe. They'll have a good grip on you, especially Kayla. John, nobody's ever risked this. Yeah, that's true. That's true, Tara. We're not doing that. And then join a club. It's thanks friends like yeah, that's what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to do actually. I personally wanted to join a gym and start training. I have a Ray Longo's gym not too far away from me. I've really wanted to train there, and I've just been pushing it off, and I really should do it. I want to train something. I just don't know what I would want to do initially. Like I have no experience at this point. I mean, I played sports all my life, whatever, but obviously I've never trained MMA ever, so I don't even know where I would start. Wrestling, jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, or Muay Thai. I don't know, but I know they have just a general MMA program at Ray Longo, so maybe I'll just do that. But it'll be fun. Yeah, I know outside, like obviously it's fun to join a gym um, just because you can make friends, as you said here, you can make friends and make really close friends like that. But also you get in shape, which is another good thing. Also, you learn how to fight a little bit. So there's definitely a lot of benefits to joining a gym for whatever you decide to do: jiu-jitsu, wrestling, striking, boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, whatever it is. There's a lot. There's a lot of benefits to that. So I really have to get on that, and I got to get the ears, cauliflower ears. No, actually, I kind of don't want that, but yeah. What else? Um, what else? What else? Gotta do that 20 version plan. Because you know, this really there. That's fair. That's fair. But then after those 10 years, you'll lose 9 fights in a row, and then you'll fight Salt Poppy in boxing. but yeah, no. But when Tony was in his prime, though, Tony was a legend. He was definitely a legend. His pace, ridiculous pace, um, the way he was able to strike effectively and even wrestle to a certain extent, it was pretty impressive. So Tony's definitely a legend. Title run coming. Yeah, what is it? 6 fights in the title. He'll beat. All right, this is how the roadmap of Tony Ferguson is gonna go. He's gonna beat Saul Poppy. He's gonna what's the word I'm looking for? He's going to when they tire their opponent out. What is that called? Oh, he's gonna melt. I don't know. I can think of that. He's gonna melt Saul Poppy, and he's gonna knock him out the latter half of the rounds of the fight. Then he's going to fight KSI, knock him out quickly, knock him out in the first round. The BS style of KSI, this thing, it's not going to be effective against Tony. He'll knock him out quick. Tony, by the way, grew his hair back somehow, so the title run's coming back. And then the UFC is going to be like, all right, this guy's kind of legit. Let's re-sign him. He re-signs with the UFC. He beats a couple of no names by knockout, obviously, and then he moves up through the rankings, and then he fights Paddy Pimblett for the belt in the rematch. Submits Paddy Pimblett, becomes the champion. Khabib's like, all right, I'm coming back. Then they do Tony versus Khabib, and Tony washes and melts Khabib, and then Tony becomes the GOAT. That's how it's gonna go. But he's gonna have PTSD. Oh my god, shut up, phone kick. That'd be funny. Man, dude, if Saul Poppy knocks out Tony Ferguson, what are we doing? What are we even doing here? Cinema, yeah. Imagine, imagine that like actually happened. That was the funniest thing ever. That'd be so funny. Um, but yeah, dude, how is Tony gonna perform in boxing? For one, like even when he was in his prime, like how would he perform in boxing? But especially now, as washed as he looked as of late, and he's fighting a younger guy. I mean, Saul Poppy's not like a good fighter. I don't think. I mean, he's good for the influencer scene, I think, but in general, obviously, he's not a good fighter. Um, but I don't know. Just it's kind of ridiculous. Saul Poppy's like 33 or something. I thought the dude would be 20. Yeah, that's honestly the other weird part about it. A lot of these guys, I feel they act like they're 20 or 21 or something, and it turns out like that they're 35, or in his case, he's 33. Like Adesanya is one of those guys. Like when you look at Adesanya, like I feel like you would think he's like, I don't know, or at least maybe not now, but at least earlier on in his career, I feel like you would think he's like, I don't know, like in his late 20s or something, or maybe even early 20s. But then you look at it, he's like 34 or however old he is. So there's some guys like that like just the way they act or whatever, you would think they're younger, but it turns out they're older. Yeah, Magomed 31. That's crazy. It's crazy to me when there's a UFC prospect, which I guess they are a prospect because they just got here. But when it turns out they're as old as they are, dude, like how old is Carlos Ulberg? He's like 35 or something, right? Let's see. Carlos Ulberg. And he's perceived to be a prospect as well. Yeah, he's 34. So it is kind of crazy. Peter Jan's only 32. Yeah, it does go the other way as well. Jan's only 32. Of course, I'm blanking out. Dude, what's going on in my brain, chat? What's Vicente Luque is only like 32 or something, or is he 32? He's like really young, Vicente Luque, and he's washed. How old is Vicente Luque? He's 33 actually, but still, it's still pretty young, especially considering how long he's been fighting. So there's definitely some guys that are young and are perceived to be old, and the other way around. Yeah, title shot. Yeah, he better not get a title shot. Well, this is how it's going to go. So it's going to be Khalil versus Yuri. I think I lean Yuri in that fight, but I could honestly see Khalil winning. It's a close one. It's a close fight. So let's say Yuri wins the fight, then he's probably going to get a title shot versus the winner of Pereira. Oh, actually, that's kind of weird. So if Pereira beats Ankalaev and Yuri wins, then what do they do? Because you can't really give Yuri a third fight against Alex. But maybe at that point, if Alex beats Ankalaev, he'll just move up to heavyweight and try to get his third belt that way. And then they'll do Yuri versus Ulberg or Yuri versus Ankalaev, or Yuri versus Ulberg for the vacant belt. I don't know what's going to happen. But if Ankalaev wins, let's put it this way: if Ankalaev wins, the winner of Jan versus Roundtree will fight Ankalaev, and I think Yuri will beat Roundtree. But as I said, I think it's close, and I think stylistically, Yuri's a tough fight for Ankalaev. I think Yuri could beat him. Book Jan versus the champ winner because he's cool. Yeah. Listen, I think against Pereira, even if they fought again, I kind of just think Pereira's a tough fight for Yuri, but I think Yuri's a tough fight for Ankalaev. So if they do Yuri versus Ankalaev, don't be surprised if Yuri's the champ again. Is it crazy to favor Yuri against Ankalaev? I feel like I probably would actually. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. The Roundtree one is just like kind of tough for me to predict, just because there are like aspects of Roundtree's game that are not technical. Like he throws his left overhand like literally like this. He like throws it like literally like that. So obviously that's not technical, but there's other aspects of Roundtree's game that's pretty technical, and he was able to fight Jamal Hill, throughout 5 rounds and not really get hit at all. And he was able to land a bunch of leg kicks and stay relatively technical and staying very safe. So on one hand, I'm like, all right, he has shown a pretty good ability to stay safe and land some big shots. But on the other hand, Yuri's a much different fighter than Jamal Hill is, obviously. He's a lot more aggressive, hits a lot harder probably. Or, I don't know, a lot harder, but hits harder. And yeah, I don't know. So, I probably lean with Yuri as well. 305, brother, what's going on? No problem. Thanks for joining. I appreciate you for being here. Honest with these light heavyweights, some of them should move up. I agree. I completely agree. We were kind of talking about this last week, I believe, but there's a lot of guys at the light heavyweight division. I think Jamal Hill's another one of those guys. Now, there's a lot of guys at light heavyweight that are big for light heavyweight and maybe aren't the champs now and don't have really that much of a chance to become the champion of light heavyweight, just move up to heavyweight. The competition at heavyweight isn't that good. Yes, they're bigger and they definitely hit harder, but there's so many blobs at the heavyweight division. A guy like Jamal Hill, who I don't even think Jamal is really that good, but he has a lot of power and he's durable. If a guy like that moved up to heavyweight, I think Jamal Hill beats a lot of those guys. He'll be faster for sure than most of those guys. He does have the power to knock out guys, even at heavyweight, and he has shown a pretty good ability to be durable. So yes, Yuri was able to finish him, but it took him a lot of perfect counter shots to finish him, and Yuri hits ridiculously hard. So yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot of examples of guys at light heavyweight that should move up to heavyweight, and Jamal Hill's kind of one of those guys that comes to mind just because he lost 3 fights in a row. I don't think Jamal Hill is getting a title shot anytime soon. But yeah, there's some other examples as well of guys that I feel like that for, but we'll see. We will see. That's not everyone. Yeah, if you beat a BMF, you're not necessarily. I think you're referring to Poirier when he was talking to the Nelk boys. I think he was talking to or somebody where he was saying Max Holloway's not the BMF. He's the BMF because he knocked out Max Holloway. I'm assuming that's what you're talking about, or maybe not. But kind of what Poirier said, I actually think kind of makes sense. In fairness, the BMF belt wasn't on the line. I get it, but Poirier beat Max and he finished him. And in the beginning, he did offer in the first 5 seconds to throw down with Max. So is Ilya the BMF? I'm a huge Max fan. It's kind of unfortunate because I'm kind of a fan of like all these guys. I'm a fan of Charles. I'm a fan of Max. I'm a fan of Topuria. And some of those guys have beef with each other a little bit. So it's unfortunate, but I kind of agree with Topuria. I feel like what he was saying was kind of accurate. But in general, though, if you beat a BMF, doesn't mean you're the BMF. No, probably not. But I think for Topuria, he has a good case for it. Jamal could look good too. He just needs to work on it. His footwork is awful. Yeah, I do agree with you. Then he has a chance. Yeah. For Sterling, I think it does kind of play to his advantage at light heavyweight. But yeah, for Jamal, I do agree with you. His lack of footwork, I guess, could get him knocked out at heavyweight. They hit harder. He doesn't, as you just said, he doesn't have good footwork at all. He can't really get out of the way of certain shots. So if he's too stationary and he's too planted in a specific time or whatever, and he gets caught by a big right hand or something, like imagine Derek Lewis fights Jamal Hill. If Derek Lewis lands a clean shot, he's knocking him out. So the risk or the danger is significantly higher. But I just feel like some of these guys at light heavyweight could move to heavyweight and have success. And I kind of feel like Jamal is one of those guys. I don't know. First, Jamal, what is he going to do at light heavyweight at this point? He's on a 3-fight losing streak. I don't know. Who's he going to fight next? Dominic Reyes? He might beat Dom, but he also might lose to Dominic Reyes. And if he loses to Dominic Reyes, that's 4 losses in a row. What is he going to do? Even if he beats Dominic Reyes, he's not going to get a title shot most likely anytime soon, probably never. So just move to the heavyweight division, see if you can have success over there. And yeah, I don't know. Ilya Topuria is a BMF. I agree with that. Is Bilal a BMF? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Just because, well, I don't know. I mean, I don't think so. But the one thing that I do have to give Bilal credit for is when he did fight JDM, he did willingly strike a lot with JDM, and JDM's obviously a better striker. I thought it was bad game planning, but in terms of like being a BMF, that wasn't bad, I guess, from Bilal. But overall, I'd probably say no. He doesn't have any finishes. Well, he finished. Of course, I'm blanking on his name. He finished Sean Brady, but that's about it. Bilal's the most BMF. I like Bilal. That's fair. Mike is a big Bilal guy. Bashmal, I don't hate Bilal. He's a good guy, and he's a good fighter. I actually think he's a pretty good fighter. Good wrestling, and his striking has gotten better. Even though he got pieced up kind of at the end against JDM, JDM is known to be a better striker, and I thought Bilal actually Did a pretty good job at holding his own in that one. He did land some of his own shots, and he definitely had success in the fight. So definitely somewhat impressive from Bilal for sure. But yeah, but yeah. This is funny. This is actually a guy that I wanted to talk about when I was talking about light heavyweights moving up to heavyweight. One of the guys I wanted to talk about was Vitor Petrino, who actually did that. And at light heavyweight, I thought Petrino wouldn't really be all that great, but at heavyweight, I thought he would have a lot more success. And he actually decided to move up to heavyweight. And I think we're kind of seeing that. I mean, he's still kind of fighting unranked heavyweights, but still, I wouldn't be surprised if Petrino finds himself being a top 10 or top 12 fighter at heavyweight. And I don't think he's that great, but I just think he's going to be faster than most of those guys at heavyweight. He does have a lot of power. He's shown a pretty good chin. And I do think he'd have success. Big ball decision is way to a number one contender fight. Probably lose. Yeah, I think probably what they should do next for Bilal, we'll see what they do. But what I would personally like to see is Bilal versus Usman as a number one contender fight. Two former champions. They both have beef against each other, and we'll see. I mean, I think Usman could win that fight. I think Bilal could win that fight. It's a close one as well. So I would personally like to see that, but I heard also some rumors about Shavkat versus Bilal. But then also I heard Bilal doesn't want to fight anybody unless it's for the belt. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I respect that. Mikey Bilal's an excellent fighter. Bilal's a good fighter. Vitor is a $5 now. It's not that. Yeah, I agree. I think Petrino is a good example of a guy who's not very good, but at heavyweight he'll have success. I agree with that. BMF is just a man for that. Yeah, true. I think at this point BMF is. I mean, Max Holloway is certainly a BMF. The way he kind of dominated both Poirier and Gaethje and decided to throw that at the end. Like that's a BMF move. So Max is definitely a BMF, and Gaethje is a BMF as well when he was a BMF champ, and obviously Masvidal was as well. But I think at this point the real point of the BMF belt is just to put on a pay-per-view when none of the champions are ready, or it's difficult for the UFC to get a champion to fight on a pay-per-view card. So they kind of just use the BMF as like a title, even though in my opinion it's really not. It's kind of just like a contender fight. That's kind of what it turned into, like Max versus Gaethje, or Max versus Dustin, or Gaethje versus Dustin. All those fights are kind of just like fights between two really good fighters. Like all those fighters are really good. But it's kind of just like a contender fight that the UFC props up as a title fight. But really, in my opinion, it's just a contender fight. I don't know how much the BMF belt really means, but I guess it's cool to have something on the line. A guy like Diego Lopez would be good for that. Yeah, Diego Lopez would be good. He does a really good job at just pressing forward and throwing combinations. He hits really, really hard, and yeah, we'll see what happens. By the way, I was thinking about this the other day. Which guys in the UFC, I guess really at 155 or maybe in general, well, actually, no, it would have to be at 155 or 145. Which guys in the UFC do you think it makes sense for them to accept Max Holloway's thing when he goes like this? I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but when he goes like this, which fighters do you think can actually have success in those moments? In my opinion, it's really only Topuria. Outside of him, Gaethje got knocked out. I think Dustin got hurt actually when they were throwing down at the very end. That's why he grappled, and also he said it after the interview. He didn't want to get knocked out, especially in his retirement fight. When Max points down and he starts throwing, he just throws his shots like ridiculously fast, and especially at 155, he hits so much harder that it's hard for guys to take these shots. So yeah, I was thinking about that the other day. Like, which fighter would see that and be like, all right, like I can have success in this moment. In my opinion, I really don't think it's anybody outside of Topuria. I mean, Topuria can certainly box, and he can certainly throw shots very quickly, and he can take a shot, and he hits really hard. So I think he could do it, but outside of him, like, I don't know. I don't know who else would have success in that moment. Max Holloway is a great fighter. He definitely is a great fighter. And in my opinion, I feel like he's kind of the best that he's been in a while, or maybe ever. Max kind of has a new style at this point as compared to what he was doing prior. Where before he was throwing a bunch of punches in combination, throwing these very long punches in combination or very long combinations. And for that, he was having success. He became the champion, but he was taking a lot of counter shots. But at this point, he's kind of he does throw combinations, but they're limited to 2 or 3 punch combinations. He utilizes footwork a lot more. He doesn't get hit nearly as much, and he hits a lot harder. So it's kind of a different style for Max, but it's very effective. Very effective. Imagine seeing a sequence like that with Jan. 55, 45. Yeah. Dude, actually, yeah. If Jan was bigger and Jan threw down with Max, that would be an interesting one. Jan has a good chin. He hits relatively hard. Not like that hard, but he hits relatively hard, and his boxing is tremendous. So that would be fun. That definitely would be fun. But yeah. But I do agree with you. Outside of Ilya, probably nobody else. What about? I think Max probably would get the better of him. It's kind of weird because it's different sizes. But what about Van? That's so weird, bro. I swear I didn't see that comment before I said that. That's funny. The thing about Van is he's a tremendous boxer, but I don't know how good his chin really is. He has been knocked out before, but his boxing is elite. Max needs to accept Billy in a minute against Travis sort of fight. Dude, I really wish he did. I mean, in the end, it was kind of the same result. Max got knocked out, but I really wish he did. Like, that would have been so badass. In the first 10 seconds of the fight, they're just throwing down. That would have been cool. I mean, it's probably not that smart for Max just because Topuria hit so hard and he has really good boxing. But that would have been badass if that happened. Yeah, even Jan versus Van would go crazy last 10. That would be sick. It's kind of funny because I think Jan as well as Van are both small for their individual weight classes. Like, I think Van could legitimately make a 115-pound weight class if they had it. I actually think he's small for 125, which is kind of crazy. But I kind of think he is. And then for Jan, I think he's a little bit small for 135. So it's kind of weird. But they both have great boxing and they're both really good. So even though they're a little bit undersized, it doesn't really matter. They both have been able to have a lot of success. Yeah. Dude, I don't know what happened, boys. I was in the batting cage. I don't play baseball, but I was in the batting cage just today. I was just swinging, and I guess like I pulled something or whatever. But oh man, it like hurts. But well, it's not that. It doesn't hurt that bad, but it's just I can't like stretch it out. Anyways, we need Ortega and the BMF builder. Pete. Toro fight F55. Ilya Toro. I'll smack the hell out of him. Yeah, that was a terrible impersonation. But Ortega is actually BMF. He definitely is. He's willing to take a lot of shots. He almost submitted Volkanovski twice when Volk was in his prime. So Volk is a BMF. And Toro versus Ortega would go crazy. Yeah, Ortega BMF. He is actually a BMF. I actually agree with that. Ilya Toro. There's a lot of Connor funny things, funny quotes. I actually have a video coming out about Connor. The fall of Conor McGregor. Connor was so exciting. But not anymore. Or I guess he is. Connor as a promoter is elite, by the way. Connor as a promoter is insane. The Connor on the slopes, bro. Forget it. He's a good promoter. Let's go. Let's go. Um, but he was a great fighter, but mm, Islam. Is that crazy? Islam, just because he's not that aggressive. I think, in my opinion, what the BMF means is you're a great fighter for one, but also you're willing to throw down. And I don't think Islam would do that. He's a great fighter. He's the number 2 pound for pound fighter in the world, which I think is warranted. But I don't know if he's really a BMF or like an Ankalaev. Basically, I guess I'm picking out guys that are good fighters, but guys that are probably not willing to throw down like that. I don't know. What's another good example? Ian Gary. Ian Gary's a great example, actually. Like he's a good fighter. I know he gets a lot of hate, but he's actually a good fighter. But I think he's probably a pretty good answer because he's very like defensively aware, which is a good thing. But for the BMF, probably not. Arnold Allen would be a true. Sorry, you mean a candidate for the BMF? Yeah, there has been a bunch of times where Arnold Allen is thrown down. So yeah, not Mofsar. Yeah, yeah. Mofsar with 0 finishes. It is kind of great. Like he's actually a good fighter, and he's not even like a bad striker, but he just cannot find a finish. I don't know. He just has no power, I guess. But it is kind of funny. It's kind of like I actually don't even think he's a bad fighter. He could definitely earn a title shot. I think he does beat Pico, and if he does, he'll get a title shot finally. But you just can't buy a finish. I don't know. I don't know what to say. And as I said, it's not like he's just taking guys down and holding them down and not doing anything. Like he does go for it. Um, but and even on the feet, he's a good striker. He just can't buy a finish. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Gene Silva versus Mosar. What a fight that is. Gene Silva. Boom. Quick prediction. I think Gene wins, actually, yeah. I think this is probably how it's going to go, though. I think Mosar beats Pico. I think Gene beats Diego. Then I think they're going to do Mosar versus Volkanovski. I kind of think Volkanovski is going to beat Mosar. Mosar's really good, but at this point, the thing that Volkanovski struggles with is guys that are very athletic and hit really hard. And Mosar's not really that. He's really skilled, but Volkanovski is arguably the most skilled guy in the UFC. So if he's going up against a guy that doesn't hit that hard, I think he can have a lot of success against them. So I kind of think he'll beat Mofsar, and then I think it'll be Gene Silva versus whoever has the belt at that point. If it's Volkanovski, it'll be Gene versus Volk. I'm kind of hoping Volk retires if he beats Mofsar. But if it's not Volk, then we'll see who it is. But I kind of see Gene the same way that I see Ilya Taporia. We'll see how good Gene is, but in my opinion, ooh, oh, that's good. Um, sorry, I'm just using this thing for my back. My back hurts. But anyways, so for Gene, I kind of see him in a similar manner to Ilya Totoro, in the sense that I just feel like he's inevitable. Because with Taporia, like he had trouble against Max, he had trouble against Jai Herbert, but at the end he found the finish. And I kind of just feel like going into a lot of his fights against Charles as well, I felt the same way. Like he's just going to knock his opponent out eventually. If that's in the first round or if it's in the 5th round, he's going to find a way to cut off the cage and land big shots. And usually he's able to do that. And I kind of feel a similar way with Gene Silva. I kind of feel for Gene, like maybe early on, he'll I don't know, maybe early on he'll have some trouble against guys, especially if he's fighting somebody up in the rankings or fighting somebody that's significantly better competition than he's fought in the past. But eventually, I just think Gene is a little bit too technical and hits a little bit too hard to not finish guys. I really think he's going to be a champ, and I'm pretty confident in that prediction. But we'll see. How fast do you hit the batting cages? I don't know. It wasn't like a batting cages that you pay for. It was just at like some school. One of my boys has a baseball game coming up, like a charity baseball. Like I don't actually play baseball, so we had a baseball game. So we kind of went into this batting cage. It's not you don't pay for it. It's just literally a batting cage, and you just walk in and pitch. Uh, you pitch. There's like the batting thing, batting guard or whatever, or a pitching fence or whatever it's called, the net, pitching net, and then you just pitch, and then the guy just hits. So I was just hitting as hard as I could. I don't know how fast it was or how hard it was, but made some good contact. But as I said, I don't really play, and definitely pulled some. But yeah, good old batting cages. It was fun though. It was fun. I gotta train though, bro. I gotta fucking train. I really want to do something. I'll train something. Uh, best fighter impression. We're going a little guru over here. I don't have great impressions. I'm definitely not guru. Guru is really funny with them, but I have one that I think is good. It might be terrible. Let me know if you guys think so. But I have a good impression of Fazeev calling out Hezbollah. He's like, Hezbollah, Hezbollah. You want the real fight? You fight with me, bro. Actually, that sounds terrible. I could do it well, but that was pretty bad. No, that was actually really bad. Fuck, that was pretty bad. I have done it well in the past, um, but that was like one that I could do, but I kind of just butchered it right there. Not good. Not good. Other fighter prediction or impressions. Mm, I don't know. What's an easy one? Ooh, Fizzy for the BMF. Yeah, I don't know. I can't really do impressions. I'll work my way into it though. I'll practice. Fizzy for the BMF. Yeah, Fizzy's a beast. Him versus Gaethje was a great fight the first time. The second time, not as much, but still, it was fun. I always thought Fizzy was a little bit too small for 155. I always thought he should move down, but he's not really, or he is like muscle bound. So uh, so I don't know. He's pretty muscle bound, so maybe it'd be a tough cut for him going down to 45. But for 55, I just think the physicality isn't really there for him, and I think we saw that in the Gaethje fight, both of the Gaethje fights. Like Fiziev was landing big shots on Gaethje, but Gaethje wasn't really getting hurt. And when Gaethje was landing his own shots, especially in the second fight, he was able to drop Fiziev, and even in the first fight, he was able to kind of cut him up and hurt him to a certain extent. So, in my opinion, I think Fiziev would be better suited if he moved down to 145. Um, just because I think his physicality would be more impressive or more effective than it is at 155. But the cut might be difficult because he is muscle bound. Impression of Dominic Cruz popping out of a lamb. I don't even want to try. I'm gonna butcher it so bad. I don't even want to try it. Oh man, that's a good scenario though. Oh man, don't fucking redeem. um, that's what's his face? Is that guy still in the UFC? I think he is. Um, what's his face? Huh. You know what? You know what? A fighter I was really mad at not too long ago. Pooja, that women's fighter in the UFC, the Indian women's fighter. I was so mad at her in her last fight. She's fighting a kangaroo. She couldn't figure it out. All right, I'm actually gonna pull it up. Versus Shauna Bannon, I believe it was. Shauna was literally a kangaroo. She had this weird style where she was on one foot the entire fight, throwing like side kicks to the body. That's literally all she did. Pooja couldn't figure it out at all. And then eventually she kind of figures it out. She lands a big shot. She essentially finished Bannon or should have finished Bannon. And then she decides to go to the ground with Bannon and then she gets submitted a second after that. It's like, what the fuck was that? That was insane because I actually bet on Pooja, which is funny because I just didn't think Bannon was good. And I guess I was kind of right. Pooja's not good either, but I thought Bannon wasn't good either. But she didn't find the finish. That was like one of the weirder fights. Actually, one of my it's one of the weirder things to me. Like if you hurt your opponent and then you get submitted like 3 seconds after that, that's so weird to me. I actually have a friend that trains MMA, and he actually has a couple of fights. I believe they're amateur fights, but he had a couple of amateur fights, and he's more so of a striker. I believe he's a Muay Thai guy, or not Muay Thai. I think he's like a kickboxing guy, but he doesn't really have much grappling at all. So he was fighting this guy. He was kind of tagging him up on the feet. He dropped him. Like he was hurt pretty bad, his opponent. And his opponent like takes him down, takes his back, and submits him like 7 seconds after getting dropped. Just so weird. Um, but uh, but yeah, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Some interesting fighters in the UFC for show. Um, but yeah, ridiculous. Yeah. How funny would it be if I just started training MMA and then in like 6 years from now or something, you see like, oh, rising prospect, juicy MMA. That'd be pretty funny. It's not gonna happen, but that'd be kind of fun. But yeah, dude, the women's pound for pound is in shambles, man. Shevchenko's number one pound for pound in the women's rankings. I think it's probably Whaley. A lot of these fighters are just not good. Juliana Pena is number 5 in the pound for pound rankings. What are we doing? Even Figaro, I don't think is that good. She's just big. So, yeah, what are you gonna do? But anywho, boys and possibly girls, we've been streaming for around like 2 hours and 15 minutes. It's been a great stream. I appreciate everybody for being here. If you have any last second questions, I'll be sure to answer them. But yeah, I think I'm going to hop off stream at this point. It's been really fun talking to you boys, Mikey and 305. But yeah, it's you should ask Guru that, by the way, 305. That's pretty good. But yeah, so it's been a great stream. I appreciate you guys for being here. Thanks so much for the questions. We'll be back tomorrow for a live stream at 8 p.m. Eastern. Just before I go, I might as well plug one of my YouTube videos. I did just post a video today about RDR and Whitaker. If you haven't seen it already, just be sure to check it out if you're interested in that. And yeah, have a good one, Mikey, as well. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace out, boys.